The best things take time. What's your first thought?
The best things take time?
Yeah, like especially your CEO, team leader, developer, builder of, owner of Keller Williams, Center City, and a bunch of locations that it's beyond me now. You guys are growing so fast. We'll get to that. There's people that you've been in conversations with for years even, and that have decided to work with you. Would you say that's because you were patient? That's because how you viewed what you were doing in the first place? Would you agree that big things take time? What's your ethos, your belief system around that?
I think anything great doesn't happen overnight. I think it takes a lot of work. It's a progression. I think you have to go through life experiences to kind of get to where you are supposed to be or need to be. And, experiences, both good and bad, throughout my life is kind of positioned me to where I'm at right now. And my belief has always been, I've always been a giver, and always giving back to people, helping people grow. And, organically and naturally, it comes back to you. It may take some time. Yeah. Some people think like, oh yeah, I've given, I've not gotten anything in return, but it will happen. Like your day will come, but you have to be consistent, with that, and just lead with integrity, and provide value.
There were points in my life where I definitely struggled with, I want this short term right now. Some adversity had to kind of reorganize that for me. Was there a time in your life, in business life, personal life, where you wanted it right now and it didn't happen, and that was a struggle? How did you overcome it?
Plenty of times. There's been plenty of times throughout my life I wanted, a certain something. I wanted it right then and there. And afterwards, I figured out I wasn't ready to have that, whatever it was, whether it be something monetary like a car or a house, or I wanted to be in a certain place in my life as far professionally, and I wasn't there yet. At the end of the day, I had to work for it and continue to work for it.
Did you ever get it when you thought you deserved it?
I have.
But it didn't work out?
There were times where I was close to getting it, and whatever held me back from getting it. And I knew that, okay, as you get older, you're supposed to get smarter, and you look and you look back and you look at, okay, you look at the progression, and it's like, okay, I was almost there. Why didn't I get there? Did I not set a big enough goal? Did I not surround myself with the right people? What was it? And for me, I'm always curious to find out, why I didn't reach my goals. Like for my 2019 goals, we have them laid out both for my real estate team and also for the market center as well. As we have goal set, and I'll track the goals. And for some reason, if we didn't reach our goal, why didn't we reach it? And then for next year, now we know what we have to implement to reach those goals.
That understanding and those systems, when did those start coming into your life? Was it before Keller Williams? Was it after Keller Williams? Was it in between somewhere Keller Williams?
It was definitely before Keller Williams.
Okay.
It was definitely not the earlier part of my life. I'm an old man now, but the earlier part.
Not at heart or spirit.
No, you are right about that.
Or look, you could train me.
Anytime.
Hold on, he's a trainer.
I get down, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
The earlier part of my life, it was kind of just go, and didn't really think about it, just do it, and such a totally wrong mindset. And as I started to get older, I started to figure out after a lot of failures that, hey, you know what? I need to get my SHIT stuff together, you know what I mean? And make sure that I am actually having goals and making sure that I'm tracking them. And once I start to do that, I start to see a shift in my career and my life. And I'm still learning. I think we're all always learning. But
it's interesting. So adversity occurred. Inevitably, or eventually, at least for you, you realized, hey, I've got to make a change there, how I approach it. Start thinking. Start reflecting. And it worked, correct?
Yes.
Saw different results. The reason I asked, was that something that happened at Keller Williams or around that time, is because it seems to be their culture. However, do you think, being that you had it prior to, do you think that almost attracted you to the organization?
I truly believe that, I haven't been in real estate, as long as some people here in the market center. But from a leadership standpoint, I've been in positions for a long time that I've led people, and that has been instrumental in transitioning me from, I was in hospitality before into real estate now, and has helped me be where I am today. So that was definitely instrumental as far as going through the hospitality industry where I was working 1 million hours a week and helping to lead people and under time constraints and just making sure I was helping people grow. That for me was a natural fit when I came here to Keller Williams, in a leadership position. The real estate itself is not really that hard. It's being consistent with it.
Yeah.
And coming from contribution, having integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking, and if you're consistent with all those, you're going to be successful. The knowledge of real estate is just learning based, right? So you have to learn it. But there's some intangible things like having grit and being that person who is always learning, never stops learning, surrounding yourself with like-minded, successful people is really what we preach here at Keller Williams.
That's awesome. Now, you're, let's say, a young adolescent.
Yeah,
I
got to think a little bit.
We're a young adolescent. Grit and consistency, did that trait develop young, or did it come young adolescence, or did it come later adolescence?
I've always had grit. I just didn't know what the word was.
Okay.
Right. I've dealt with a lot of adversity, in certain situations throughout my life, both personally and professionally, and how you respond to that really makes up who you are, And you can get knocked down and stay down, or you can dust yourself off, get back up, and say, okay, this is not going to define who I am, And I never let that get in my way, and I think which has pushed me to where I am today. There's nothing I believe that I can't do, and I know what I can't do, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, you're aware of it.
And delegating things that I'm not good at to other people that are much better at it than me, and being able to admit that.
Young, in a less mature form of who you are today, were you able to admit that?
No.
Or did it something you worked on?
I was a person who wanted to do everything themselves. I like to say I wasn't a micromanager when I was younger, but I kind of was, because I was a perfectionist. I wanted everything to be right, and I was not good at delegating. And you get yourself into trouble when you think that you can do everything on your own, and you're a yes person, says yes to everything. And then what happens is when you start saying yes to everything, you miss appointments or you disappoint people because you said you were going to do something and you have too much on your plate and you end up not doing what you said you were going to do. But as you get older, you're supposed to learn to say, I can't do this day, I can't do this time, I can't commit to this because whatever you have going on in your life, but I can do this date and this time, and I will help you.
Wow. Yeah, it's powerful. I'm thinking I could relate fundamentally with wanting to appease and wanting to over-deliver, even if it was like totally impossible. I can think back on my life. I think it was just growing up, not feeling like I was on an island, to be genuinely feeling like I was on an island. And I wanted acceptance from people. I felt, in a sense, without a doubt, psychologically abandoned. I'm very clear on the occurrences and the meaning that I attached to those occurrences growing up. Was it specifically a mentor for you, you think, that helped you develop grit, or like more of it like adversity, happenstance?
I think grit is something that is in each and every one of us. I think you have to learn how to pull it out. Some people it's easier than others. For me, the hospitality business is not an easy business to be in, and to do that at a higher level, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to have hard work and dedication. You have to have support around you, and you have to have an attitude that I'm going to be number one, and I'm going to persevere, and that's all there is to it. That type of mentality. And I think that carries over into any profession.
So what age were you, and where were you when you got involved in your first job?
I was 13 years old. I was a dishwasher in a restaurant. My brother was the bartender, and
how?
I wasn't
what
supposed
was
to
the
be
age
working.
gap? Yeah, it's young. How old was he? How old were you?
My brother's 7 years older than I am.
Okay.
So he was 20. I was 13.
And was it him that was it like He was he was working there, and then you were like, I want to work with you, or I want to be around, I want to get involved.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure how it happened, but I always loved food, and I always loved customer service and taking care of people. And from when my mother has a picture of me when I was 4 years old on a step stool, like making eggs, you know. And it all started from there.
Wow.
You know, I had a spatula in my hand.
Yeah.
And then, you know, my brother was working there, and I guess I was like, hey, do they need help or whatever? And he got me the job there. And just from there, even when I got into high school, you know, after we'd go out partying or whatever and come home, my friends would stay over or whatever. And, you know, my mom had a big pot we call gravy with meatballs and sausage in it and stuff. And my mom would wake up in the morning and half the pot would be gone, you know, or I'd be cooking for my friends and stuff. You know, I always... Part of my problem when I was younger was saying yes to everyone because I always wanted to please everyone, you know, and I learned that there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to learn how to say no, too.
Wow, that's big, because I didn't figure that out until the last couple of years.
But you're still young.
Luckily, right? Well, hey, so, okay, 13, I'm playing video games and just taking advantage of the fact that, you know, Barbara's just doing whatever she can to make sure that the whole world is burning around me, but I don't know, and I'm just taking for granted. I'm a stubborn little bastard. I am, seriously. And you're working. You're actually doing something. I think my first job was at like 18 as a bouncer. A different scenario, right? Mm-hmm. But you were driven to work. What was some dreams and aspirations at 13 years old? Are some of those things cross off the bucket list? Like, I wanted to be a laundromat owner. That didn't happen. Versus now, like 13, you know, you're already working. I could think that changes the scope of how you view the world. Like, where was your head at then?
When I was younger, say I was, you know, 14, 15, 16, I always wanted to, you know, own my own restaurant, and I wanted to be, back then I'd call it independent. That's interdependent now for me, you know, and I never really saw myself in real estate, you know, at that age. It wasn't even a thought of mine. And as I got older, you know, I realized that restaurant business is not a long-term play for me, you know, and I needed to figure out a way where I could spend more time with my family, still make a great income, have no ceiling on it, help people grow, provide that customer service that I was always used to doing.
Yeah.
And be able to, you know, still cook at home and still have my craft, be around
with
it.
your free time.
Correct. And I realized one day I woke up, I'm like, I think real estate's it for me. I was always intrigued by real estate.
Was it someone that you met, or was it something you saw, like you saw an infomercial? No.
No, it wasn't an infomercial.
This house.
Yeah. What's his name? Than Merrill.
Than Merrill. You saw Than on there.
That's what did it for me. Than did it for me.
Than did it. And then you said, let me burn all the ships behind me. I'm getting into real estate.
Seriously, it wasn't Than. I have a lot of friends in real estate, and I'll never forget this. Huh. When I had, I think it was my second restaurant or third restaurant, I had friends come in that were in real estate, and they'd be like, hey, can you come out with us on Saturday night? You know, we're all going to go out. I'm like, yeah. Guys, you know I can't go out. I'm working till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to close the restaurant, right? And then miss birthday parties, special events. And I just got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I need to do something different with my life. I gotta be there for my wife. I got to be there for my kids. It's not too late, you know, and I made the shift.
How old are your kids at that point?
My son was 7, and my daughter obviously wasn't born yet. My daughter just turned 1 on Sunday. So, and you know, I want to create a life and a legacy that will fund my family forever. Yeah. You know, and that wasn't going to happen in the hospitality business at this point in my life.
It just wasn't set up at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about money. You know, the money comes as a result of your value proposition and what you provide for people, for your family. And I just knew that I had to make a shift and I had to do something for my family.
What year is this?
About 5 years ago.
Okay, so it's 2013-ish.
Is when I first started to get into real estate.
And you get your license originally, and you were thinking about selling houses on the side?
Yeah, I was working a full-time position, and I had it thought out. I said, you know what? I'm going to get my license while I have my job. Yeah. And then I'm going to give myself a certain period of time, to build up my real estate business, and then cold turkey just resign with my position and get into real estate.
And you had you were in a management position with the hospitality.
I was in an upper management position, and it was a good time for me to make that transition because I had flexibility with my schedule. And I decided that day when I said I'm going to get my license, I told my wife, I'm going to get my license. This is what I'm going to do. And she says, go for it.
So you decided not to end up owning a restaurant and building out a restaurant. Was that because that could have been a goal?
Yeah, I was kind of done with that phase of my life. I wanted to get out of hospitality.
Wow.
And as much as I love that business, I'm married to my family, not the business.
Wow.
And I made a conscious decision to get out of that and put myself in a better position.
Did it take some time to overcome that and own that? Because it feels like you've owned that. Your results as an owner,
I continue
has owned that.
Correct. I continue to own it every single day, right? It's not just owning it. You have to continue to own it. Like every day I have...
Yeah, how does someone do that? I feel like millions of people don't. Or may never will own whatever it was that they had maybe an aspiration to do something and pivoted to do something that could even be more rewarding if they let go of what they thought they were supposed to own. Like, sure. Supposed to what? We're creating this thing. How are you doing it?
I have, and I put this on myself, and my partner, Gaurav, feels the same way.
Great guy.
He is a great guy.
We love him.
We do. We have a responsibility to not only our families, but to our agents and their families, right? To create a life worth living in our market center. And that's something that I hold near and dear to my heart, and our leadership team as well, every single day. So every day it's like, how can I make a difference in someone's life? It's not just owning it just for the sake of owning it. You have to own it every single day. It's the only way you get better.
Wow. And when in the time of getting into real estate to becoming an owner of, we're going to get into all that, amazing things you guys have going on, did it click for you? Was it a couple of occurrences that happened, a specific mentor, you just waking up and saying, something's got to shift? Because a lot has occurred in 5 years. We were talking about what could happen in 1 year earlier.
We were.
And a lot has happened in both of our lives, in both of our businesses, in 1 year. So, yeah, before this year, because was it this year?
Definitely this year, but it all started, about 2 years ago when I came to KW from Remax. And, I met with Antonio Atkin, who used to be the operating principal here and is still here with his team. And I knew nothing about being the CEO, team leader of a market center. I came here to build a real estate business, and when I started to find out about what the position really meant and what it entailed, I was intrigued. And my wife and I had this conversation for like 3 months or 4 months. And I wasn't sure, I don't know, I kind of wanted to just do real estate sales and build a team. And I obviously ended up taking the position. It was the best thing that ever happened to me because it's created other opportunities for me along the way. I worked hard and I continue to work hard. But because I surround myself with the right people, those opportunities have come up the last 90 days for myself, and Gaurav and Ben Aller and Matt Teeter, the partners in the company. We've done a lot in 90 days.
Tell us, what are some of the things you guys have accomplished? Because I think if someone just heard what you've been doing in 90 days, they might be inspired to do something maybe in a year. What is going on in Keller Williams, especially in Philadelphia? There's so much cool things, and you guys are a big driving force of that.
Totally. We are, taking the legacy that Antonio Atkin, has built here over the past 11 years. We're building off of it. We are raising the bar on some areas to make the market center an even better market center. We're opening up another location in Fishtown, right across from Soraya in Fishtown. I'm sure you know where Soraya is, right? Yeah. Right next to where the Starbucks is going to be, which will have a liquor license, which a lot of people don't know that.
Wow. Yeah. That's exciting.
So we're going to own that space right there. We have recruited a few teams, so Citywide Realty, Avi Keller just came over.
I'm going to see him later today. Yeah. Give him a hug.
I'm having actually lunch with Avi after this. He's
and then I'm going to see him after that. Dude, we're all connected.
We are.
That's the culture.
It is the culture.
We're aligned.
Culture matters.
Whoa, I'm going to cry. I'm getting excited. All right, so you're, okay. So yeah, what else?
We had Nancy Houston, Neil Henner, Love Your Stoop team, came over from Berkshire Hathaway. They have what's called a MIG agent office over in Art Museum on Fairmount Avenue. Wow. So those two have just happened in 90 days, right? And just recently, can't really say who it is officially, right? But we just took over about $140 million team, and we're super excited to have them, come partner with us here, and they will be in our Fishtown office, which should be done April 1st. Wow. We're building it out right now.
So already, we have Center City and Northern Liberties.
We have Society Hill.
Society Hill.
Yep, and then Fishtown.
Fishtown.
At 2424 York.
Wow, this is huge. Of all that's going on, how quickly you guys move serving people, because that is the ethos. That's what I see. I've sat down with Gaurav, had the pleasure of interviewing him just like we've done in the past and are doing now. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely alignment in how you guys think. What would you, like someone sit in your position that's like, maybe they're right before the rainbow. Like they're in the storm, because it's a storm. What do they need to hear to be able to move as quickly, as efficiently, like, how are you guys doing it?
Have an end result. This is the best thing I can tell you. Know where you're going. Surround yourself with the right people, and then know where you're going to be. And for Gaurav and I, is that we really are aligned. Because Gaurav and I are the operating people day to day. And he and I talk every single day, whether it be at 11 o'clock at night or email at 3 in the morning or talk during the day. We're always connected, and the big thing for us is that we're accessible. We're accessible for our agents. And it's nice to know, coming from an agent standpoint, that, hey, there's a team of people that I can go to if I need something at any time. And just for anybody out there that is, say they're in real estate and they've kind of hit a wall, and say they're at $3 million in production, and they want to get to $10 million, you gotta dumb it down, break it down, and say, okay, what do I have to do, that's necessary to get me to $10 million? Well, number one starts with, what brokerage are you with? Who are you surround yourself with? What are your beliefs? Are you passionate about it? What are your goals?
It's interesting that you bring those up and not just like, what's your time block? How many contacts a day?
Those are day-to-day activities as a result of that.
Wait, break that down. Yeah, this is like gold, right?
Yeah. So you talk about time blocking, right?
Yeah.
All right. Time blocking is just a result of one goal that you have. So if you want to do $10 million a year in production, right, you have to time block certain activities to get you to $10 million.
Yeah.
So you have to break it down.
However,
that make sense?
Yeah, of course. So, and you're saying we focus on that after we get clear on who we surrounding ourselves by. Where are we physically? What ecosystem are we in of shared beliefs to drive ourselves forward? And you said, what do they believe? What's their passion? Right? I don't want to put words in your mouth. You just said all that first. That was the first thing out of your mouth.
100%.
Can you that's not normal. I think it's amazing. Culture.
I think it's normal. I think it's normal.
Was there a point in the business of real estate where you thought contacts, time block first, where you would have said, if I asked you that question, and you would not have said, surround yourself with the right people, get in the company that has that environment. Was there a time where you would have ever answered that differently? Or is it something you learned over time? Because it isn't common sense in the business world right now.
I think you have to go through certain experiences to get you to that mindset. I don't think it just happens overnight. And going back to what we talked about before, you have to fail forward, right? Yeah. You have to keep failing. You have to get you to a point where you have that mindset where, all right, I'm not just going to worry about lead generation and time blocking. They're all important activities,
Yeah.
right? Because you can't do anything without leads in sales or in real estate. But if you don't have people around you that are doing this business at a high level and you're not around them, and you don't know what direction you're going in, and you don't have goal set, and you don't have an end result of where you want to be, you can't do any of the other things. You have to start with that first. That's what I believe.
Wow. Was there a time where you didn't believe that?
Oh, 100%. I was doing the other things.
And that's powerful because at some point you made a switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you especially, Chris, have done in 5 years what most never will do.
Thank you. I mean, even when I was younger in the hospitality business, I did a lot at such a young age.
Yeah.
My problem was I didn't surround myself with the right people, right? And I didn't really have a clear direction. I was doing it. It was almost like I was successful by accident. And eventually, your luck runs out because I don't believe in luck, right?
Yeah.
And I believe in being prepared when the right opportunity presents itself. That for me is luck. And when I was younger, I kind of had my head down. I worked my butt off, and opportunities came up. And for the most part, I took advantage of them, but they backfired on me because I wasn't surrounded by the right people. I know for a fact, being surrounded by, with Goroff, with Ben and with Matt, that we're gonna crush it.
Yeah.
Because we're all like-minded individuals, and we have huge goals, and our main purpose is to create value for everyone around us. How can you go wrong?
It's powerful. It's interesting because I can empathize with the fact of attracting who I was at the frequency I was at. And I think my biggest failure was being in a leadership role and deciding to let that give me a falsetto confidence, like a fake pride to tell people to do things that I didn't want to do and wasn't mature enough to handle. And having all the people that worked for me then resent me and genuinely have credit to be able to do that.
Sure.
And be embarrassed in front of my entire organization at the time, regardless of being an early, a young gentleman at that time, or being whatever. I was completely gobsmacked. It's just the truth that I didn't do what I was supposed to do and lost all the respect.
Life smacks you in the face sometimes.
Hard, and attracted partners, people, but we could say, hey, they necessarily weren't exactly the right people. And what it hit me hardest was, I personally, they were me. That's who I was most of the time. And that's why I was with them. Me personally.
Sure.
I genuinely liked them until I didn't. Because they just showed me. It was almost like I was walking around every morning when I got up and I looked in the mirror. I didn't actually see it because it was so close in front of me. And then every night before bed, I brushed my teeth and I still didn't see my own reflection. Because it's so close in front of me that I can't see it. And there was a point in time where things occurred that were really tough. And I think opened up enough space for me to be able to see my reflection. And then that attracted a higher energy of love from someone else maybe that already occurred to.
Sure.
That they started operating at a certain level and not viewing the world in a certain way, and maybe because they could see their reflection.
Sure.
And then I can my mind's exploding like a Christmas tree right now. It always does when I talk to you. Always does. Right now, 2019, it sounds like you're personally in a good place. Your son, he's what, 12, 13?
11, he'll be 12 in February.
12, so he's 5th grade.
Yep, 6th grade.
What's his favorite class?
Grade.
6th grade.
6th grade, he'll be in 7th next
year.
year.
Oh, yeah, because I got held back. I'm thinking...
We all get held back at one time or another.
I needed to be they should have been holding me with chains. Don't let him out of there.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it sure does. So what's his favorite class?
He'll tell you it's gym.
Okay. So He learns physically.
He's a chop off the old block.
Okay.
But no, he does really well. He likes math, so he does really well in math. He's a numbers guy. He likes money, so I could see him being an entrepreneur down the road. But right now, it's the stupid Fortnite.
Oh.
I'll tell you, my wife and I, it's like the death of me with this game. People are addicted to this game. It's crazy. We have to set parameters and time limits on how much he can play because he'd be down there 24/7.
24/7, huh?
It even goes into he's a basketball player.
Okay.
So it goes into his practice time. He almost doesn't want to practice basketball because he's going to miss out on Fortnite.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, from 14 to 18, all I did was ranked number 3 in the country for a warlock. Yo,
That's impressive.
if I go to those when I talk at the high schools,
Yeah.
I always get really clear on that if the culture started mattering, if the reading started occurring at 14, like it started at 21, and the World of Warcraft, 7,000 hours in 4 years, then I wouldn't have, my mom brought me to therapy and I went one time and I said, and I hadn't slept in 40 hours. And I was like, this is just stupid. And it took another 2 years, and it took my computer breaking and short-circuiting and me actually being a grown-ass man, not having any money. And she's in her 70s. She couldn't buy me another computer.
Yeah.
Living in a one-bedroom, sleeping on her bed because I'm a dick. And she was sleeping in the living room on a recliner chair. She's such a sweet woman.
Did you feel bad
You ever
at that
see
point?
South Park?
Of course.
I didn't feel bad at all. Terrible decisions. You ever see South Park when he's like, give me the sandwich?
Yes.
And he's playing?
Yes.
That was me. Your kid's going to be all right. Just give him my YouTube channel. So I played so much of that game. Do I regret it? Right. No, because now it's a story to help kids, maybe.
Yeah.
Is there hope? Heck yeah, we ended up turning that around. From 13 to 18, no one even knew me except my avatar on that. I was a warlock.
That's crazy.
And then do you know Brian Crocodilos? He runs Design Blends.
No.
I got to mess with him right now. He's going to hate this. He was a druid. We just
No way.
Yeah. So, and he's, almost 20. I think he's 27, 28. He's got 40 employees building that development company over in Manayunk. He was addicted to games too. I think it's definitely a sign of someone that could think and imagine and be creative. And
be competitive.
If you're competitive and you can think and you're willing to put work in, it's basically the archetype of successful people. I see that a lot.
It is, and you know what? It is a phase, but back in the day when we were playing video games, but we'd go out and play, dude. Hide and seek, chase, whatever you want to call it, right? We'd be out till 9 o'clock at night until our parents told us to come in, right? Out playing, running around, come back sweaty, dirty. Now people communicate through Xbox, right? Their friends are on, they got the headset on. That's their version of playing today, right? Whereas back in my day, we were outside playing, exercising, whatever. It's just different.
We can learn a lot about culture from these games because the brain can actually tell what is real and not real. And it goes back to what you said earlier, and I'll explain what I mean, that what brokerage someone's at, who the people are that are there.
Mm-hmm.
What the difference between reality here and the video game. And what that means is the neurotransmitters in our brain, the serotonin, the oxytocin, the dopamine. Dopamine is addiction, goal setting. Serotonin is leadership, speaking, and serving. And oxytocin is serving. Those neurotransmitters are released when someone plays that game to the point where it's so addictive. It's the same exact neurotransmitters released when we do drugs. It's fact. Well, what we can learn about culture is when the vision, the purpose, the mission, the goals, the belief systems are so clear, And if you notice, in those games, there's always leaders, there's always guilds. There's groups of people that meet up, and someone's a leader that drives what they believe, drives what they have in common, and they can communicate and learn together. It's almost like they have team meetings, they train together, they bond together. What we can learn from culture is how to drive a successful company's culture to increase productivity and decrease turnover comes from mirroring what those video games use. The armor, the title, the smell, the color, the hierarchy of competence, meaning like the titles that matter have meaning to them.
Absolutely.
It's like I was so addicted to those games because I was involved in a cult like following. I had a character that was an avatar that represented my social status in relation to the game. Yeah. I got judged on my skills, which reverted back, increased my social status, and it made me feel loved and belonged because I didn't feel loved. I felt lonely growing up. So I got on the game, and that made me feel loved, and then I was really good at it, and that made me feel confident. But it was a mask because I never worked out what was inside. Sure. So all I did was play the thing and take it out of my mother. What if...
Great job,
I'm psychoanalyzing myself right here with you.
Absolutely.
This is good stuff, though. This is Culture Matters. This is what we do. Culture Matters. This is actually a funny story. So we're sitting. It's me and two of the cultureites, and we're in Vegas, and we're with Brad, and we're having a 4-hour conversation about philosophy and neuroscience, for 4 hours. And at the end, he goes, "This is what you guys do all day?" I was like, "Yeah."
That's great.
Duh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I digress. Moving forward in 2019, Q1, not to divulge all of your secrets. However, what are some of the cool things that you guys are doing? I always see you having meetings and group training and events, and there's always things going on. You're upping the bar every single time I watch you guys on social media, which we'll talk about. What can people expect in the next couple months from you guys? You've done so much in 90 days without telling all the secrets.
We're a very transparent company, but we have to keep a few secrets. We can't divulge everything. Yeah. Listen, we want to create an environment or a culture where no one ever wants to leave. That's just what we focus on every single day. 2019, we want to improve our overall education. I believe that there's always room for improvement in all areas of your life, both professionally and personally. So education be one. We have our team meetings once a month, make it more purposeful, have some speakers flown in. We just had our holiday party.
Oh, it looked awesome.
Over at V Chess Cafe. We spared no expense. They deserve it. Our agents deserve it. It was amazing. Really, really great. A lot of great feedback. But doing purposeful things like that, throughout 2019, to change some things that need to be changed, improve some things that need to be improved, and bringing in some agents from other brokerages into our culture that fit our culture. Yeah. That can improve the overall brokerage. That's a huge thing for us, and not just taking anybody, right? Because it could be a numbers game too.
Interesting.
But it's not. There is a numbers game to it, but do it the right way. Bring in people that fit your culture, and we're not going to bring a $20 million producer into our brokerage if they're not right. It's not a right fit for our
What are some things that you look for as far as character traits that align with the culture that you're aligning here?
Come from contribution. Be purposeful. Give back, and be learning based, and those are the things. Be humble, those are the things that we look for in an agent.
I love you, man. So the R, we never talk about this actually, ever, but collaboration. Did that turn off? Yeah. That's all right. Well, dude, I'll save for the camera because this is really
absolutely.
It might blow your mind.
It might.
Well, maybe not. You already know we're like twins, but they don't know. The world doesn't.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Soon.
What are your socks you got on? Anything crazy? You're gonna do that at the end or something. Holy yo. You go slow and shit. And he's all dramatic and just it is it on?
That one was.
Is that on too?
Yeah, this is.
Oh, that's just. Can I answer? Did I say what I want to say?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, 3, 2, 1. It's crazy. Camera was off. I asked Chris, well, what kind of socks he got on today? He's got nothing crazy, I'm sure. I love them. The puzzle pieces. So that my mind is exploding. I asked, what are some of the character traits that you look for when you decide who you're going to let into this aligned culture that you have? And I heard humility. I heard learning-based, someone that is from contribution. Brother, collaboration, give first, intend to help, but get started today. That's the C in Culture Matters. The L stands for learned. The more you learn, the more you earn. And the R stands for reserved. Listen to understand, not to imply.
Exactly.
It's no wonder we always get along so well. And we've never even done business together. We have grown together. I've interviewed you. I've learned from you. I've listened to you. And we've done that
and vice
together.
Versa, yep.
And built a friendship where, how do you quantify good energy? And then it just comes back, right?
It does. And I just want to, there's one thing that you said that's wrong. And you said something that I, created here. It's we.
Yeah.
Because it's.
Thank you.
It's
true.
It's not just me. It's our leadership team. It's
you're
my
right.
partners. It's our agents. It's everyone. You can't do it alone. You just can't. And for someone to think that they can run a successful company by themselves is foolish. You can't. You need everyone to buy into it. And if you don't have everyone buying into your culture and your vision and your values, it'll never happen.
Has it been in the past, it could be other industries, other business in life, where that wasn't the forebrain thought and people came into it and it didn't work out?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I've had partners in the past that didn't have the same mission, vision, and values that I had. And I didn't know enough to know that, hey, I need to surround myself with like-minded people. And I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And once I learned that, hey, you know what? I need to surround myself with the same like-minded people, that's when things shifted for me. And I'll never go back to that. I'll never be surrounded by people that don't have the same mission, vision, and values that I do. And maybe you know this or you don't, and I'll just bring it up quickly, is when the transition was happening with Antonio, the buyout, I had gotten a really good offer from Compass. And great, I was flattered that I got it, and I was very transparent about it, with Goroff and my partners. And there was a time where it was, I may have gone to Compass. And the one underlying thing that kept me from going was, and put the monetary part aside,
of course,
is I sat down with Goroff and I sat down with Matt Teeter. And we sat at the table and I'm like, you can't go. That's exactly what happened. He said, you can't go. We got to figure this out, And those are the type of people you want to be partners with, right? For me, it was an easy decision, and best decision I ever made.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I see it. And part of why I've always been very passionate about Keller Williams is because in the early 80s, 83, Gary was a 26-year-old who believed something, and he believed that the company worked for the agent and the agent didn't work for the company. Mm-hmm. And that belief is what he said. He says all over the place. If you even go on YouTube and look it up, he says instigated him to leave a very lucrative position. So talk about money, right? Like, how many times have us entrepreneurs said no to things like that were financially, in the short term, available to us because we had to say yes to something that we believed in? And the inception of the company, it started that way, and it ended up coming full circle through all of the heat, right? The market imploding in Texas in '86, and him openly admitting everyone was leaving and the back end support was leaving, and the whole freaking thing is burning down. However, he got really clear on the values of the company, the WI4C2Ts, and started the Agent Leadership Council. And then you come full circle in 2017, you got the Triple Three, right? Most agents.
Triple Crown.
How do you see? Yeah, what's that called?
Triple Crown.
Triple Crown. And what is it?
Most agents, units. You don't know this?
Yeah. Well, it's agents, units, and
What's that?
volume.
Volume.
Is that it? You guys won all of them.
Yes. Agents, units, and volume.
Never in history it's really happened.
Never.
Ever.
Now that happened last year, roughly about 7 months ago, 8 months ago.
8 months ago. And what's most interesting about that is Remax was, and this is just, I'm an outside objective guy, right? Culture Matters works with all sorts of different industries and different companies. And interviewed everyone you can imagine it in and around real estate. Mortgage, title, real estate, all this stuff. Insurance. 10 years prior to Keller's inception, there was a different company with just different core values. And that attracted agents that were already veteran in the business and had a specific culture that worked at that time. And they owned the marketplace. Usually in business, first to market gets market share. However, when a new idea is founded, like a country, like a democracy, that's a really damn good idea, that solves a problem, that has a damn good person to start it, the fire.
Sure.
First to market sometimes, usually never ends up keeping market share. And I believe, and the analogy would be, America's founding was the first new business of democracy versus King George's reign. Right? He was the owner of the company. One of his managers, there was 13 of them, was Penn, Pennsylvania. The founding fathers were like the employees who didn't need the manager anymore because they could be industrialists due to technological shifts and start their own little businesses, their own little families. They didn't need the company anymore. They didn't need the manager anymore. So they got together with less resources and they kicked Remax's ass.
That's intense.
That's it, right?
It is.
Because they had less resources. They had less of everything. What they had was a new idea, profit share, the ability to create a downline through leadership, the ability to own your own personality brand, your own company within the helm of the company, and build a legacy, not just culturally, but financially, that no real estate company had ever done in the history ever in the world.
And it's still not doing.
Still not done. It's still never been done. That was centered exactly the belief system of the founder, which was that the agent didn't work for the company worked for the agent. So having the Agent Leadership Council and all of the training methodology systems that are driven by the values, win-win or deal, integrity, do the right thing, and so on. No other company had done that or is doing that. And Remax, this was interesting, right? Objective. You're not saying this. I genuinely, this is from a culture expert, was 10 years before. Today, they have 3 to 4 times less agents. It's just the archetypal example or meta story of what's happened again and again in history, where the founder of Remax was a badass too. He was. Any human that creates a new idea is a badass.
Sure.
Something occurs along that line where it's almost as if what we talked about, our stories, like that are micro examples of it. Imagine you or I didn't grow to the wisdom that we were surrounded by the wrong people.
No question.
And imagine we never looked in the mirror.
I'd be the first to agree with you.
We're the micro example of the macro company that gets outwitted by a new culture and a new technology that's driven and becomes this giant monster that beats out the old company. And in less than 5 years, you went from a whole different industry to selling houses to owning the freaking thing in the best company when it comes to clear values and training. Is why it was in seed in the first place. And culture's starting to matter. But to me, it's profound because the Triple Three occurring with a company that started 10 years after the one that was the monster in the room, is like Netflix Blockbuster.
Correct.
Now the question is, and this is what we could just philosophize over, is what's happening, what's going to happen now. Because technology drives culture. Culture has to accept it. Or else that spiral doesn't go up, and it only goes up for very few, and it goes very down for a lot. Example, Frank Crinity, do you know him? Mm-hmm. Hopefully I'm saying his last name right.
You are, I think.
Okay. When I interviewed him 2 weeks ago, this guy has done 1,200 car sales a year for Honda, more. Mm-hmm. When the iPhone came out, he looked at it and said to himself, this is what he told me, I can text my clients now. It's going to speed up my ability to serve them. This was when the iPhone came out, years ago.
Yeah.
So the technology presented itself in front of an individual who looked at it and could have said, that's stupid. Right? I'm King George. We can take their money. I'm William Penn. I don't need to go to Pennsylvania. I haven't been there for 16 years. That's true. He didn't even go.
Yeah.
And what happened? They're gone. Frank, who wasn't a young buck, I mean, he was in his early 30s probably at that time.
Yeah.
Looked at it and said, I can use this technology to be better, not bitter over it, and push it out of the way. And what happened? I mean, he went from doing 60 car, this is what he said, 60 car sales a month to 80. And then more adversity happened into his life, which people just have to watch that interview. And he's doing 135 in a month.
Crazy.
So to me, I look at it and say, technology is going to change always.
It already is.
The question is how we're looking at it. Keller Williams is looking at it.
Oh,
Keller Williams is investing very heavily in it. Mm-hmm. What are some of the driving thoughts in your mind of how you guys are you're open and accepting and approving of technology, and how you're using it to drive the development of your teams?
I'm so glad that you asked me that. Here's the biggest reason why, one of the biggest reasons why I love Gary and I love KW, is that Gary has created a technology platform where he's allowing all the agents, right, to have feedback into what works from a technology standpoint. So we're giving feedback, hey, this doesn't work on the Kelly app, this works, let's use this. We have what's called labs. We have people going into Austin, Texas, right, to actually join in with a labs program and give their feedback on what works and what doesn't work. It's the agents that have the voice, because we're the ones that are using it, right? The agents are ones that are using the technology, and ultimately their clients are going to be using it.
Yeah. So
it's important to get the feedback and utilize it to make the platform the best it can be. And for us, it's not just, we don't have some technology company doing it all on their own, right? We have the best technology company partnered with the best agents.
Wow, that's powerful. So in a sense, okay, the idea is to fuse the technology into the culture of the organization, so people view it as, an example, I'm a big fan of Ray Kurzweil. You ever heard of him?
Yes.
The singularity is near.
Mm-hmm.
As a futurist, he's like, our only hope for the AI robots to not, forget kill us all, just take all of our jobs, is we have to merge. Our iPhone should be in our head. Simple as that.
Yep.
So in a micro reflection or example of that conversation, of the humanity, Keller Williams is like, let's merge how we think in life, in our business, that we are technology. They've always thought that.
Oh, 100%.
It's been a driving force.
It has.
It's just that the world moves so quickly, and when you are the best because you have the most people, it can be really difficult to pick everything up as you go.
And, every person that's with KW, every agent, every leadership person that's with KW is on the board of directors, because we're in profit share, right? So everyone has a decision on what goes on. It's not like a public company, right, where you have an actual board of directors making decisions for everyone else. Everyone has a voice in our company, and that's the biggest difference.
It's powerful. So we wrap this up, what's one or two or three questions that you have for myself and Culture Matters moving forward?
I'm glad you asked me.
Yeah.
What's your big why?
My big why is to live in a world where every man, woman, and child takes responsibility to read, write, and speak every day, because I personally believe everyone has genius in them, and they go their whole life and never figure out what it is. They can go their entire life and never know that they were supposed to be a dancer. I didn't know I could write until this year.
Mm-hmm. Very impressive, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why did I have to fail out of high school? I didn't know. Why is it that every day I meet people and I interview them at the highest rungs of success, and there almost isn't one person I meet that doesn't think they're dumb at some level? Dead ass honest. I started doing these interviews to be a better listener. Mm-hmm. When I stopped talking and started listening, my big why, people shouldn't think they're dumb. The goal of Culture Matters might be to make curiosity cool, which it is. Because I think that drives people thinking, and then they don't think they're dumb.
For sure.
The purpose may, on a piece of paper, be to help people uncover their genius. And what I think genius is recognizing patterns and acting upon what you create, your imagination.
Sure.
But we could really bog it down. Why is I thought I was dumb, and every day I meet people that think they're dumb. And I have a lot to say around that subject. So I'm going to keep talking when it makes sense to, and listening when it's necessary. So I keep continually not lying to myself, because that's what I was doing by being ignorant of myself, so that maybe someone else doesn't. And then when they climb the ladder and they finally catch that metal rabbit, you know, like the greyhounds, they run around that track.
Yep.
They finally catch the metal rabbit. They realize they don't need to realize the hard way that that is not the answer, because they enjoyed the run.
Exactly.
Any other question? No, seriously. Like that's. I hope that answered some of that question.
It did. Thank you for that. That's awesome. You know, we talked about before. Well, you know, in 5 years, you said, you know, I went from here to here and did a good job with that. For you, you've done the same thing. You've, in a short amount of time, you know, when you started Culture Matters, people thought you were nuts. Like we talked about that out there, right?
I'm walking down the street, dude.
That dude's crazy. What is he doing, right? And you didn't care about that. Yeah. You really, you didn't care about what people thought. You knew you were doing the right thing. You were following your passion and your vision. And it's gotten you to where you are right now, which is, by the way, super impressive.
Thanks.
I have a lot of respect for you. Where do you see yourself from here? Because you've accomplished so much in a short amount of time. Where do you see yourself, you know, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years down the road? What's it going to be for you that's going to say, you know what, all right, I did it?
Thank you for asking that question. Because of one thing has changed in the last year. How people view me has changed. I'm already there. The only thing that will change is how the world views Jay. Period. And what that means is when the world can be open to someone that is open and coming from contribution and love, that maybe more people, definitely more people, will be open to the message. And the message is that we're geniuses. To find it by creating it, not stumbling over it, by creating it. So I'm there. That's where the power comes from.
Yeah.
That's where that deal to change your life kind of thing that we hear about, that success overnight. Success overnight comes from that person was there already. Example: Keller Williams 8 months ago got rewarded for what was done 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Anyone want to fact check me? Watch some interviews of Jeff Bezos. Mm-hmm. He says, this quarter was done 4 years ago. So I'm there already. All that will change is judgment, which helps others up their skill. Example, the definition of education, one of the interpretations of it is the art or process of interpreting knowledge, skill, and judgment. Mm-hmm. Knowledge. Knowledge always changes, because before this there was a different way to write that was the best way that we knew. It was true until the only truth was that it wasn't true anymore, and then we agreed on a new truth. Sure. Yeah, so knowledge changes. Skill is based on the knowledge, And judgment is affected by the skill. So I'm good. If anything, I've been too happy for too long and too slow. I don't need anything. I want. So now it's really about like, whoa. I feel as though something that I might say could help someone get there before they're there.
Sure.
I better start saying it, and this is really like a responsibility at this point. Mm-hmm. Where do I see my personal being? Well, for the fact of the matter is that we've been able to interactively film good content so then organizations and consumers, countries someday, can invest in good content to have accountability, role play, and repetition. Jay doesn't need to touch everyone's hand because that's impossible. So through Culture Matters courses, millions of people around the world will be able to invest in themselves to think, which is what the Culture Matters courses are.
Sure.
There's many different courses for different skill sets, from the phone to Facebook to the mind to leadership and culture, right? There's a hierarchy there for whomever want to do that. So because of that, global. I'm already working with the gentleman that works with all of the gentlemen is my client, our client. So where I see Jay at a table like this with Jeff, Bezos, what's that one guy? Carlos Slim, Ray Kurzweil, and we're like, culture matters.
Pretty good company, man.
Elon, I personally believe when Tesla engages with Culture Matters to help them align the vision, the mission, the values, the belief, the goal, the stories, and all the invisible architecture to delineate that Elon will say, Jay, we really do need to go to Mars, but no one believes in me like JFK. Can you just do the talk? It matters.
Totally.
And heck yeah, I see Culture Matters contributing in some form with Keller Williams in one way or another. Because, damn it, I tried to be less crazy enough to sell houses, did really well really quickly, but realized I really just need to be a teacher. Yeah. So there's no way we're not going to do something with in my opinion, the most aligned from 83 and since. Whatever ups and downs there were, because there always are in growth.
Sure.
The guitar-playing genius that started this company a long time ago is a badass. And of course, right? Who are you around? Badasses. So where I see me in a year, 3 years, 5, well, I'm going to go to the moon with that guy, Dear Moon. Anyone watches is like, what is he on? Culture, man. Actualized. Love, man. They're bringing 12 artists to the moon. It would make sense to go.
You'd be the man to do it.
So it's very gray there, because if you think so big, writing it down is almost limiting. So I write down, obviously, who I need to be every day, bro. Who I need to be is me. I need to read, I need to write, I need to speak, I need to listen, I need to coach and cultivate the culture. If I do that every single day, the sky is the limit, because I could sit down with someone that has $1 billion, and every day there are billionaires, probably not every day, but almost monthly, that commit suicide and jump in front of trains because they lost $1 billion and they still have 100 million.
Yeah.
That's selfish if I only work with them. So the whole world will be able to have interactive education with myself and all of the culturites that are going through that education. So, I mean, can we go any higher other than the atmosphere? Yeah, we can go to Mars, right?
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. You know what I got? You know what I got out of that? To be honest with you, this is something I believe in. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You know, and what I'm getting out of that is how much you really care about, you know, culture and helping other people. It's no different than like what we're doing here, you know. And you're doing it with multiple companies or multiple people, you know, and we're doing it with our company. Yeah. So we're very much aligned on that.
Well, it's why I love Keller Williams so much and always have.
Absolutely. And the last thing is, I think everyone wants to know, what's your favorite book?
30 Days of Thought comes out
Boom.
At the end of this year. Over 30. I love that you asked me that, because I did think of a couple other ones, and I'll say them after. Yeah. Culture Matters has its first book coming out. The publisher is Authors United. Yes, right? Yes, I did write this every single day for the last year, an exercise to help me overcome my neuroticism called being a human.
Yeah.
It turned into an idea of writing really, whether the grammar, forget, writing really has helped me work some things out. So you could open up a book, read an excerpt, which is an extrapolated thought. So you have thoughts all day long. So I wrote one down. All right, another one. Okay, 3 a day. So they read one in the morning, one midday, and one evening. And on the next page, they write down. They, as in the reader, writes what they think. So the point of the book is not to memorize what Jay thinks. I'm crazy. It's to argue with me, maybe. But write it down and then film a video and put it out on your social media of what you wrote. Now, why would I do all this? Because last year, people might not know this, I was in an accident that forced me to look at 2 directions. Be bitter over not being able to use my hand ever again, which was the prognosis, or to get better. I was bitter for about 2 weeks, wholly bitter. And then, because I put out a video that people saw, my hair was crazy, I was crying, I was very upset, but I was attempting to be positive, right? Be the person that people expect me to be and who I want to be.
Sure.
And I couldn't handle it, and I kind of broke down in this 12-minute video. And the comments and views were way more and better than all the other hundreds of videos that I did.
Sure.
I realized that video kept culture going enough for it to matter. So what if video was a way for me to overcome my fears, my insecurities, have a voice, read so they could think, not to memorize, write so they can think and articulate for themselves, and then spoke so that they could add contribution, add value to people that would be open to listening. And so with over 30 days, the reader is going to be able to do this, read, write, and speak, which is the mission for the company.
Can't wait. I know you read an excerpt to me, was it like a month ago or whatever. I thought it was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty that I need to write about socks. Actually, hold on. I don't have it on me. But your socks, we got to see the socks again. Can we see them?
One more time.
One of the first pieces, those shoes are amazing too. Can we see these socks? See those socks right there? Those puzzle pieces. Number one, when we work with the companies, it's called the culture puzzle. Number one, that's cool because it's like all these different invisible pieces.
Absolutely.
But one of the first pieces of writing that I did for myself was called puzzle pieces. And you got those socks on. You got me.
I call them the connecting socks.
I love it.
It's a connector. Everyone should be a connector, right?
You're the man.
You're the man.
First of many.
Oh, this is awesome.
All right, last question. Knowing everything you know today, what would you tell yourself 2 years ago?
I would tell myself 2 years ago, just give back as much as you can. Always, every single day. And it'll come full circle.
You're the man.